Howdy YouTube, and welcome to this episode of the Gunman. So this video here is going to be more so a reaction video than a full review and demonstration. I just got the brand new Sagola 4600 Xtreme rocked up today, and I must tell you I'm totally blown away by how good it actually sprays. I had a loan of the 4500 Xtreme around a year ago now from a follower of mine. He decided to buy one just to be different. I had that gun for maybe a week or so. I did a review on it, and it probably wasn't one of my favorite guns. I found it a little bit slow, and although I could get quite a good finish with it, there was a few things it didn't really seem to quite click with me. But this gun here, the 4600 Xtreme, I am really surprised at how good it sprays. I actually got in contact with Sagola. They sent me a message on Twitter. They said, we'd like to send out the 4600. We've seen the video that you did on the 4500 and we've read the comments, and we think that we've improved on a few things. I said one thing straight out to them. I said, look, whatever happens with this spray gun, I'm not just going to advertise it for you. If I think it's garbage, I'm going to have to tell people. And they were confident enough with their gun. They said, nope, that's absolutely fine. Whatever you want to do with it. If you think it's no good, well then that's fine. They were confident in their gun, and I can tell you now that it doesn't usually take me long to know if I like a gun. Like with the Starterjet 5000, it took me a week before I was actually confident enough that I'd be able to come up with a review that wasn't being too harsh on the gun. So I used it on every job for clear coat for 1 week, found out the things that I did and didn't like about it, wrote it down, and then came up with a review. The video's been quite popular. I'm sure most of you guys have already seen that one. But this gun here, straight away, I'm like, wow, it's smashing the clear on. It's actually quite SATA-like in that aspect. It really does put a lot of material out, so I do recommend winding that fluid in a bit. So first time I used it, so this was the first coat, and this is the very first time I ever used this gun. First coat of clear, I had it wound out 3 full turns, so wound that fluid in right in, then came out 3 full turns. And I'm really hiking along on this first coat. I decided after that first coat, you know what, I might dial it in a little bit more. So I gave it another turn into 2 turns out, 2 full rotations out on that fluid needle, and I found it was actually a lot better. Just slowed it down that little bit. You might even just be able to tell on this second coat here that I'm going just that touch slower. Gives me that little bit more control. I've also found that it doesn't use any more material than my DeVilbiss, for instance. I do have the base coat version of this gun too, and I can tell you that I'm pretty impressed with that one too. I used that on a job just this afternoon as well, and yeah, I was quite happy with it. It's sort of like a cross between a SATA and a DeVilbiss. So I've been using them at 2 bar pressure, 1.5 bar is what I was using for base coat, and I've been leaving the fan setting on full. First time I plugged it in and I put thinners in it, I sprayed it out into the spray out card area. And I said to the other guys, I'm like, oh wow, that fan's small. But then when I got into the booth and I actually got some clear coat into it and started spraying, I'm like, well, it's actually not as small as what it feels like it was when I just had thinners in it. And yeah, some of the other spray guns that I've got, like the fan seems to taper out as it gets further on in the spray pattern, but you're never spraying that far away from the panel anyway, so by the time the gun is that little bit closer, you've actually still got quite a nice sized fan on it. I was only thinking to myself before I did this review and before I actually ever used it for the first time, I was thinking to myself, you know what, I'm just waiting for the day that I've got a gun that's going to rival my GTI Pro Lite. And to be honest, at this point, this is probably going to have to be the closest one to it. It's got some very DeVilbiss-like things on it. All the knobs are in the same place as your DeVilbiss, so your pressure, your fan, and your fluid settings are in exactly the same place as the DeVilbiss. So I guess it's familiar, you know, it just seems familiar to me, and it just feels nice to hold in the hand. One thing that I didn't like also about the 4500 Xtreme was that the trigger pulled right back to the handle of the gun, so when the trigger was fully depressed, you would actually pinch the inside of your finger, something that I didn't really notice until a guy that I work with told me about it. And I was looking at revisiting a review on the 4500 Xtreme at the time because the guy I worked with had one. He said, man, use it and yeah, see what you think of it, you know, give it another crack. So I did use it a couple more times, but ever since he told me that, it just kept pinching me on the inside of the finger, and I just wasn't in the mood for doing a negative review at that time, so I decided, look, I'll just leave it and maybe come back to it at another point, or just forget about the 4500 because I've already got a video up there on it anyway. and my opinion hadn't changed greatly after revisiting the gun anyway. So as I said, I'm going to be doing a full review and demonstration on this. Probably this weekend I'll get around to it, and I'll be including a lot more information in that video, so stay tuned for that one. But for now, get out there and paint some shit. Thanks for watching, and this has been another Gunman production. Goodbye.